welcome to Fab Friday. So I'm showing you some of the products I'm going to be using today. For today's layout, I'm going to be using a cut file from the cut shop, and I cut it out with my Silhouette sketch pens. Now when I did this, my Silhouette sketch pens decided that they wanted to stop working halfway through. But I can't afford to waste supplies, and I know many of you can't. So I'm going to go ahead and just work with what I have. I'm going to change the way that I decided my layout, my picture orientation was going to go, and a couple of different things in my layout to cover up the parts where my sketch pen decided to quit. So I'm going to embroider a little bit over some of these leaves, and I was going to watercolor, but I ended up not watercoloring. I ended up doing something a little bit more fun with some Shimmers products. And I also ended up eliminating a photo. Instead of using 3, I'm only going to use 2 because one of them was kind of the same. 2 of them were the same. So here I have stitched all the leaves that I want to stitch, and I also added some Nuvo Crystal drops in pale gold. I also took a pen and created a messy doodly border. So the cut file that I had my Silhouette draw for me was the 8.5 by 11 because I didn't want a full 12 by 12 with this pattern. I just wanted a portion of my layout to have this pattern on it. So now I'm taking 3 different colors of shimmers, textures in Marigold Digger, Gold Mine, and I think that one's called The Tide That Binds. And what I'm doing is I'm just dipping my finger into this textures, and I'm just spreading the color around the leaves that I have embroidered and stitched on. And I will say this, if you're worried about the way, if you don't like how long it takes dazzlers or textures to dry, this is a great way to use them and get some of that gorgeous shimmery color with a shorter drying time. So these took very little time to dry, maybe 5-10 minutes, as opposed to when you put some of the dazzlers through the stencils and it takes a really long time for them to dry. So there is grit in these textures, but I kind of just ignored it. Some of it stayed, some of it didn't stay. If it stayed, it didn't bother me. If I kind of rubbed it off with my fingers, that was fine too. So now I'm taking the Gold Mine, my last color, and I'm just filling in some of the gaps. I want to make sure I have a nice amount of all 3 colors around each of the leaves that I stitched on to help draw attention to those leaves, to give the background some color. I also will tell you that I'm spraying this very thin because I still want to be able to see the design. So I still want to see those pretty leaves in the background of my layout. So now I'm going to finish up here with these textures, making sure that there aren't places I want covered that aren't covered, or to make sure that there aren't places that are covered that I don't want covered with regard to where the stitching is. And then I am going to set it aside. Oh my, there goes my phone. Sorry about that. I'm going to set it aside for a minute to dry, and now it's all dry, and you can see how beautiful those shimmers. I'm so glad my lights picked up that sparkle and shine because it's really pretty. So now I'm just going to cut 1/4 inch off of 2 sides of this layout. I don't want to cut it off of all 4 sides because I want to keep the orientation of the design on my paper. And this is one of the papers from Simple Stories Pumpkin Spice line from last year, and I'm actually not going to use this side. I'm going to use the gingham side on the back, and I'm going to use it just to give a little pop of green around my layout. I do really like how this looked. I love that little gingham. I thought it went really well with my photos. Just checking here to make sure we're definitely going to use the gingham side, and then I'm going to go ahead and tape it down, and you can see all my crazy washi taped stitching. And so here are the 2 photos. Now they were originally 4x4, and I did crop them down to 3x4 photos. And I'm going to go ahead and give them both just a really, really thin mat. So I'm going to use papers from my Oakley Avenue collection, and I'm just going to trim these down and make a really nice thin mat around both of the papers. I chose this second paper for this particular mat because I'm going to use the letters from the collection, the die cut letters, and those have this same burlap or type of a pattern on them. So here are my 2 pictures ready to go. I'm going to ink the edges. I ink all the edges of all of my die cuts on this layout except for the cork with Vintage Photo Distress ink. So I'm just going to play around here a little bit with where I want these pictures to be and how I want them situated. I want to make sure I'm not covering up too much of my stitching or too much of the crystal job, so I want them to just kind of snuggle right into where those stitched leaves are. One at the top and one at the bottom. Now I'm going to go ahead and I'm going to grab these letters, and I'm not going to make you watch me sort through them, but I did sort through them to be able to pull the letters that I wanted to use for my title, and I'm just going to go ahead and start moving through them, setting the numbers off to the side. I'm not going to use any of those. And now I have the 3 words that I want, and I'm also going to use these Oakley Avenue teal colored little tile letters as well. So my title is going to be We Rake, We Pile, We Jump, and I think this is a pretty common type of title. I think I've done a title with my older son doing the same thing in his book, so this one is of my younger son. I'm going to place my words, my 3 words here, and then this is going to be more than my title. I'm going to also use these places on my layout as my 3 main embellishment clusters. So I'm going to start by going ahead and getting the words down and getting them inked, and then I'm going to take each one of those little clusters one at a time, and I'm going to go ahead and embellish around them using cork chevrons from the Spiegelmom scrap shop and some Autumn Joy sequins and a couple of die cuts from the Oakley Avenue collection. This collection is by Pretty Little Studio. Well, it's made by Pretty Little Studio. It was designed by Ashley Horton, and it's one of my very favorite fall lines. In fact, yes, it is my favorite fall line. I love it. So here I just have my first cluster kind of together with the chevron arrows, and now I'm going to work on my second cluster. This is going to be the biggest of my 3 embellishment clusters, and I just don't like that little gappy space above the fox. I really wanted to use the foxes. I have a flare and a die cut, and I wanted to use them both on this layout, so I'm just kind of filling in that background piece. I didn't like the sketch lines in that hole. I wanted to have something that would fill it completely. I'm going to use lots of little hearts on this page. I'm going to use these little corner pieces to kind of bring attention to my photo. So here I am just working on that second part of my title, which is going to be the part that says We Pile. And I'm going to add to this cluster some cork chevrons. So there will be cork chevrons in each of the 3 clusters. And I placed them there hoping that those would well, not hoping, but my plan was for those to draw your eyes kind of around the page, and also they're all kind of pointing inwards towards where the photos are located to help draw your attention more to the photos. So now I'm just going to add some more of these beautiful little sequins, and then I'm going to work on my 3rd embellishment cluster. And I'm going to pull in this little fox flare and this little die cut piece that says leaf pile. I'm also going to add a little, I'm not going to add that arrow, it doesn't stay there, my little cork chevrons, and I think I'm just kind of going to go through now. I'm going to do this 3rd embellishment piece, and then I'm going to work on just last little bits and pieces of this layout that I wanted to add. Just a couple of things, like some little heart stickers and just, fidget. I like to fidget. Fidgeting is good. And here is our last little bit of these Autumn Joy sequins, which are beautiful. And then I'm going to clean up my desk a little bit. Oh, my journaling. That's what I'm doing next. So there was this little open space in the bottom, and it was just screaming, put your journaling here. So that's where I put my journaling. And I used my Muji pen to do that. It wasn't much journaling, just a little touch. And then the next thing I'm going to do is I decided I want to use some Heidi Swap Gold Color Shine, and I want to just do some little splatters around the white. So it wasn't just white. There was some splatters, and it kind of went with the rest of the layout. But I also really like that white cardstock kind of offset border. And this is our completed layout. I hope you have a wonderful day, and thanks for stopping by for Fab Friday. Bye!